anchor of the Ramses breakfast table. And we have the people to go with them, 9 of the stars of that blockbusting soap, Neighbours. There's Gail and Paul, Helen and Jim, Madge and Henry and Daphne, Elsie Tanner, Dan Archer, Meg Richardson, and heaven knows who else. But first, and there's always a but first, I want to tell you the story of the McSorley family. For a moment, a group of neighbours that Britain seems quite happy to have round every day, twice a day. But first, music from America with a... and the news. It's like being a little page here. Once upon a time, on a street in Melbourne called Ramsay Street, there lived 2 families, the Robinsons and the Ramsays, who used to be called the Mitchells, but that's another story. Mrs. Ramsay seems to have a large collection of kitchen stools and problems with an aging vegetarian called Harold. Jim Robinson is a widower with 4 children and a mother-in-law called Helen. Jim's eldest son, Paul, is hard-bitten, or he was until he met Gail, whom he married for money, and because she seemed to bear an uncanny resemblance to Sue Ellen. They share their house at the moment with Jane. Once she was plain Jane, but now she seems to be trying to outdo Kylie Minogue on the glamour stakes. She's Paul's secretary, who's been kicked out by her grandmother, Mrs. Mangle. Mrs. Mangle. I hope you're following this. She is a mixture of Hilda Ogden, Dot Cotton, and Dame Edna. Well, now, uniting the Robinsons and the Ramsays in wedded bliss are Scott Robinson and Charlene Ramsay. We know that they're pop stars in real life, but on Ramsay Street nobody's realised that yet. Here is a snatch of their moving wedding ceremony.
Charlene, Edna, will you have this man to be your wedded husband and live together in accordance with God's ordinance in the holy estate of matrimony? Will you love him, comfort him, honor and keep him in sickness and in health, and, forsaking all other, keep you only unto him for as long as you both shall live?
I will.
She looked wonderful. So will you please welcome, first of all, Fiona Cork, who is Gail, Stephen Dennis, who is Paul, Anne Haddy, who is Helen, Annie Jones, who is Jane, and Annie Jones, who is Jim. The most amazing thing is that you all look like yourselves. Is it true that, Jim, despite the bickering, you're all one big happy family?
Yes.
No egos?
Well, you see, it's very confusing, this. I mean, if you're talking about the actors or you're talking about the characters, are there any egos?
I think we're talking about the actors. We're
Oh,
talking
yes.
about you, Alan, not you, Jim.
Oh, fine. Well, I look awfully like Jim, but I'm not really like him in any other way.
What about you, Helen? Tell me how the Royal Variety went. Did you enjoy it?
Yes, very much.
She said through strangled throat. Did you enjoy meeting the Queen Mother? Let me
Yes,
ask
very
you
much
that.
indeed.
Did you?
Yes, she was very sweet.
Is she a fan?
So I believe.
Yes.
So I believe,
The
yes.
Queen is reputed to be, isn't she?
Yes, apparently.
Yes, apparently.
Well, we hear all those stories, but, you know, none of it's true.
What I don't understand is, I was reading about it, apparently it was a flop, Jim, Alan, when it first happened in Australia, Neighbours.
No, it wasn't a flop. I'm sorry.
You were in it then, at the beginning, were you?
Yes, we had the first scene. I think we 3 had the first scene.
This was the first time round, but it was with another channel, another television channel. I thought it was a flop.
It wasn't a flop. It was the fact that particular channel, as we understand it, could not afford it anymore.
What, your fees were too high?
No. They couldn't afford the program anymore. That is as we understood it.
But then suddenly it took off.
Yeah, well, I mean...
Another channel took it.
Yeah. Go on, Jim, you're aching to... We've sat you up the back there.
That's all right. No, I mean, what happened was that in one... in Australia, the way it works is this. You've got 2 major cities in Australia.